he would constantly say, you have to fight, you have to fight. And even though I couldn't talk, and I don't remember a lot of this, I couldn't talk, my eyes weren't even open sometimes. And he said I would just shake my head or I would just, tap my hand.
Sometimes life gives us moments that completely change the way we see the world. Today's guest, Dr. Andrea Niestas, has spent more than 25 years helping others through her work in psychology, behavioural health, and community wellness. But in 2024, just as she was launching her life coaching business, her own life took an unexpected, life-threatening turn. After becoming critically ill, Andrea spent over 100 days in the hospital, survived a coma, and nearly lost her life multiple times. When she finally woke up, she was facing a long, difficult recovery. But somewhere in the middle of that journey, Andrea had a profound shift in perspective. She realised she had been given a chance, another chance in life. And she chose to dedicate that chance to helping others live with purpose, gratitude, and hope. Andrea, welcome to Positive Vibes.
Thank you so much, Nicki. I appreciate it. I'm very happy to be here.
And we're most excited to have you here, Andrea, and to hear your story. But before we go into what happened, before your health crisis, you had already spent decades working in psychology and leadership and community wellness. What inspired you to pursue a career in helping others?
So I don't know actually where that first started for me, but initially my career started in in a behavioral health hospital. And so that really was something that I was passionate about because anytime someone was admitted to the hospital, it was a very serious situation. They were there for something that was very debilitating to their life. And so being able to help someone at that point in their life was really fulfilling. It was very wonderful to be able to see people as they were leaving say, "Oh, hi, I'm being discharged today," and just be able to see the difference in their presentation and just how they were being able to deal with life and their situation. So just being at the hospital, being able to help people at their most critical was something that I love to do.
Yeah, so just further into that fulfillment, what did the fulfillment and purpose mean to you during those early chapters of your life?
So to me, it really meant, especially being there, that we could not only help just the family, but the reason why to me I enjoyed it so much is because we're helping individuals and we are helping their families. A lot of times these people, this had been the first time they'd ever been hospitalized, that anything serious had happened to them psychiatrically before. So it was really educating them and helping them understand just the process of, how life was going to be different. And what they needed to do to be able to support the individual. So being able to help the patients, being able to help the families, and eventually becoming a manager, being able to train my staff, I felt like I was putting hands on everybody that was coming in the hospital because my trainings and my policies were really touching everyone. So my department was the admissions department. I had clinicians and nurses doing the assessments to help determine if these patients needed to come into the hospital. So really, we saw everybody that came through. And so I felt that I was really helping so many different people.
What was coming to me there was that you're an absolute true nurturer and you've got beautiful energy and you hold space for a lot of people.
Yeah. Thank you. And even just my staff, having my own team is really, taking everybody under my wings and training them, showing them what needed to get done. I mean, because the patient safety was top priority. So just being able to do all that and show them, the road they're starting their journey to being a professional, and helping them with that as well. So
Mm.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. So you had this fulfilled career. What inspired you to start life coaching business in 2024?
So there was a couple things. One is that even though as much as I loved the job and the work at the hospital, I had been there for almost 20 years, and so was feeling a little bit of a burnout, just
Mm.
because of the intensity of it, the fast pace of it. And so I really was looking for something a little bit different. And
Mm.
so, really, I was taking what I enjoyed from the job, which was really that training and that teaching part. And so I had started doing some training of other hospital staff, not just my department. So I really found that I enjoyed creating curriculum. I was doing suicide prevention assessments and trainings. So being able to take that to teach individuals, to train them, to mentor them.
Mm.
So I really found that I enjoyed that. And so I wanted to do that more at a wellness
Yeah.
community preventative level. So it's almost like the opposite of going into the hospital for psychiatric treatment, because you've
Mm.
already at a point where you're at a crisis, like
Yeah.
the worst part of your life, you really need treatment and intervention. And now I'm really looking at sort of the opposite of that, being
Yeah.
able to help people build skills and ways that they can help themselves so that they're able to endure these life situations better and not
Mm.
end up in that crisis to begin with.
Yeah, I love that model. It's so proactive and it's sort of like you're catching it up the stream, not, at that crisis point. And
Exactly.
I can imagine how many people you, help prevent getting to that crisis point throughout your teachings. So shortly after you launched your business, your health took a dramatic turn. Can you take us back to the time and what you experienced during those early months?
So I had just tried launching my business probably for about 3 months
Mm.
when I did start feeling sick and, just didn't know what it was. Went to the doctor. Um, kind of had an idea. So I was going to go see a specialist, but I was actually in the process of changing specialists. So that meant that I couldn't see someone for another 3 months.
Mm.
So I was not getting any better. I ended up going to my doctor's twice, the emergency room, the urgent care, and everybody just said, well, you have to wait to see the specialist. And I
Mm.
finally called my doctor to say, I'm not getting any better. And they said, well, there's nothing that we can do. You just have to wait. I couldn't, I was extremely weak. I was in I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk more than like 5 to 10 feet
Mm.
before I started feeling like I was out of breath. I was so weak that I couldn't even stand up from the couch. So I would try to just stand up to go get a glass of water, and I couldn't do it. My husband had to help me
Mm.
stand up. And they just said, there's nothing that we can do. You have to wait till you see the specialist. So that's sort of where I was. Within about a month and a half, I had lost 20 pounds
Wow.
because I couldn't really eat. I was taking a shower was a 30-minute process because I was just having such trouble breathing and having
Mm.
to catch my breath. And I was just in so much pain. And at that point, none of the medical professionals that I was seeing were doing anything to help me.
No. What an ordeal, Andrea. Like my heart just bleeds for you, the fact that you're actually, proactively seeking help, but no one's actually looking at you as the person and just looking at saying, well, you've got a referral and not seeing you dramatically deteriorate in front of their eyes. Must have been so frightening for you.
It was. And what I kept saying was, I felt like I was withering away because
Mm.
I was losing weight. I would sleep all day. I would wake
Mm.
up, try to eat a little bit, and then just go back to sleep just because I was just so weak and my body was just shutting down. I
Mm.
was like, I had no life. And
Mm.
it was scary because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I I just wasn't getting any help to figure it out.
And mind blowing the fact that, you're in the health industry and know how the system works, that this is not normal for a normal person to do this. So, yeah. And then you spent 101 days in hospital and even spent time in a coma.
Mhm.
What do you remember about waking up and realizing what had happened?
So when I first woke up, I was probably I'd been in a coma for about 2 weeks at that point, and I'd probably been in the hospital already for about 3.5 weeks.
Mm,
And I woke up, and really that first week of waking up, I was really in sort of a daze. I was really foggy,
mm,
and because I was still on a lot of medication, I was still had infections and I had pneumonia, and so waking up, I still really was kind of not understanding what was happening.
mm,
I mean, I did, but I didn't. Um, and so it really wasn't until after about a week that I really understood, wow, like I
mm,
was on a ventilator, I had a trach, I had a feeding tube, I had a wound vac, I
mm,
had an ostomy bag, I couldn't walk just because I'd been bedbound for so long. I couldn't talk because of the trach. I
mm,
didn't know it at the time, but I was having hallucinations, and I thought the hospital staff was trying to kill me
mm,
because I was having weird dreams just because of all the medication that I was
mhm,
on. And so I really was, after about a week, really getting a clear picture of what was going on. And so
mm,
then at that point, I mean, besides obviously feeling depressed, I just felt so dejected because I
mhm.
didn't know whether I was ever going to get better. And
Yeah.
I was really, really terrified about the ventilator
Mm,
because I knew if I didn't get off the ventilator, I wasn't going to be able to live.
yeah.
So to me, that was the scariest thing. And I would sit there and I would literally just stare at the walls because I didn't know what to do. I
Mm,
didn't know what to do. And I started thinking, why am I alive? How did I live? Why did I live to just be in this bed, to have all these tubes and not be able to walk
mm,
and talk and have any sort of life and not know what's going to happen to me? Like, why did I even live through all of that?
mm. Yeah. And again, just listening to what you were saying there, and again, my experience with being a nurse and, being there for when people wake up out of their sedation or their comas, it's a very frightening moment for them, and also they've lost time. So it's
Hmm.
really trying to get your head around the time that you've lost and
Yeah.
understanding what's happening to you, and that's where you need that total support for people to hold space with you and talk you through everything, just to get your head around what's happened to you. Because again, waking up to what you had was a ordeal for anyone to go through, to see that you had a trach, a feeding tube, you would have had lines out of you, and also knowing that the ventilator was there to help you breathe is a very, very scary thing when you know that, when you're alert. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember looking at the date on the board because they have the board
Mm,
in your hospital room and the date and your nurse name and the doctor's name. And then I remember opening my eyes and it was literally 2 weeks later. And I was just so confused. And I was
mm,
like, what happened? And by the time I did get hospitalized, I actually was out of town trying to work.
mm,
And I collapsed there
yeah.
and was hospitalized there 4.5 hours away from home, which was a good thing in the sense that I was at least getting help. And the nurses and doctors there were amazing,
Mm,
but bad in the sense that I was so far away from my family. And everybody had to drive 4.5 hours, get a hotel room, get time off from work just to be able to go visit me. So
mm,
it was very difficult.
yeah. A blessing, but a hindrance at the same time. And I can resonate with you there,
Exactly.
because I've had a family member again go interstate and become unwell. and the way they were treating my loved one, they virtually didn't know him, where the treatment was different. They started from scratch and was investigating everything, which was different to what was happening in his local town with his local practitioners. So it actually saved his life. So it sounds like you've had a very
Mhm.
similar experience. So it was a blessing, but a hindrance from being so far away from your family at the same time.
Yeah, they were blessings. My husband would call them angels. Like they were
Mm,
all there to, as you said, just save space and be there with you and
mm,
just listen and talk and understand what a scary experience that was. Like they were amazing.
yeah. So just further on that, what were some of the emotional challenges you faced during those moments?
Well, it was fear. It
Mm,
was fear of that ventilator machine, and every time they
mm,
tried to titrate me off or try to decrease the amount of assistance the machine was giving me, I would feel like I couldn't breathe and I would start having a panic attack then
yeah.
because I was just so anxious and worried about not being able to get off of it.
Yeah.
I was lonely because even though my family tried to visit as much as they couldn't, somebody couldn't just always be there because I had been
Mm,
there for so long. I'd been there for 3.5 weeks by that point, a month. By the time I kind of was starting to become clear.
mm,
So I didn't always have someone there with me. So it was very lonely. And I was also scared because I was having these hallucinations that I didn't realize were hallucinations. And so I
mm,
was having weird, you know, visions and perceptions. And I
yeah.
thought I couldn't sleep at night because I thought the staff was going to try to kill me in the middle of the
Mm,
night. So I was exhausted because I couldn't sleep. It was
yeah.
horrendous, as far as the emotional part.
Yeah, and that often happens in those environments that patients do suffer from a medical delirium because you're getting woken up all the time, you're sleep deprived,
Mhm.
you've got your medications on board, you've got drug pain relief on board. So yeah, it's a very confusing and one would say torturous time because you're meant to be in there to heal, but all we're doing is
Exactly.
poking and prodding you and making you sleep deprived. And the only thing that really, your body wants is sleep to heal your body. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's tough. It's really, really tough.
Yes.
Yeah. So during all that, at one point, your whole perspective shifted. What was that moment when you realized you were grateful for simply being alive?
So after probably about a week of feeling just completely depressed and
Mm,
sorry for myself, essentially, I was feeling sorry for myself with everything that I woke up to. I decided, well, what I realized is because of that ventilator, the fear of the ventilator, I knew that I couldn't get off that ventilator if I couldn't get my emotions under control
mm,
because it was having those anxiety panic attacks when they were trying to get me off of it that were really um, hindering me getting better. And I knew that if I couldn't get off of that, then the rest of my physical recovery was going to suffer.
mm,
So the only thing that I could think of in my delirious, ill mind at the time is that I had to work on feeling emotionally better and stronger
mm,
in order to help facilitate my physical recovery. And so I realized that I needed to start working on what was going on in my mind so that the rest of my body could heal. And so I just made a decision at that moment to say, I'm going to stop feeling sorry for myself. Sometimes we need to do that. And I
mm,
probably needed it, but I decided that it was over.
mm,
So instead of thinking, why am I still alive? Why did I survive all of this to just be in bed with all these tubes and not be able to walk or talk? I'm going to be grateful for the fact that I'm laying here with tubes because that means that I'm still alive.
Mm.
And I would get so upset because they would take me off of one medication. And then 2 days later, they'd say, okay, now you have another infection and we have to put you on a different steroid now.
Yeah.
And so every day was like one step forward and two steps back. And so I said, I have to stop thinking about it as I'm stuck here. I can't go home. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. Instead, change that to thank God I'm here because
Mm.
now they're helping me.
Yeah.
First, nobody was helping me, and now they're helping me. And I need to appreciate that and lean into that and be grateful for the fact that I'm still alive after everything that happened. And remember that this is pretty much a gift that I
Mm.
was given grace to survive for whatever reason. There was no way I could figure it out at that moment. But for
Mm.
whatever reason, I was given grace and kept alive. I need to work towards making myself healthy so that I can fulfill whatever that purpose is.
Mm. Just listening to you, I'm just thinking the irony of all this is that you've been doing this therapy for others for many, many, many decades, and now you become your own patient. What a great resource you were to yourself, and what a great courage for you to actually pull that out and actually turn that around and help yourself. That's just amazing that you were able to do that in that situation. So, how did that shift in your perspective change the way you approached every day?
I mean, it was just a complete difference because
Mm.
it I mean it was literally everything because instead of saying okay, they have to wake me up at 5 o'clock every morning and stick me with needles. Okay, now I have another steroid that they're going to start giving me.
Mm.
Okay, this instead of taking all that as a negative or something bad, I had to look at the fact that each one of these things means someone's here to help me.
Mm.
Someone is here to try to get me better. I'm still alive. They can take my labs every morning because I'm not dead,
Yeah.
because I didn't die all of those, 3 times that I almost did. And
Mm.
so I really just had to make the conscious effort and I had to make the decision. I just said, okay, this is what I have to do. And I felt in my heart of hearts that if I didn't do that, I was not going to be able to, my body was not going to be able to physically recover
Yeah.
if my mind didn't help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I was sick and my husband was at my bedside, he would constantly say, you have to fight, you have to fight. And even though I couldn't talk, and I don't remember a lot of this, I couldn't talk, my eyes weren't even open sometimes. And he said I would just shake my head or I
Mm.
would just, tap my hand. And
Yeah.
he would say, you have to fight, you have to fight. And I knew at that point that I had to make that decision to fight. And it
Mm.
was essentially fighting my own mind. I
Mm-hmm.
had to fight my own mind and start and change my perspective so
Mm.
that once I did feel more positive, then it was so much easier to say, okay, let's do the physical therapy. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's work on, eventually I got the voice thing. I don't even know what it's called anymore. So that I could talk um,
Mm.
through the tube a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I was ready to try all of that physically and eventually was
Yeah.
able to get off the ventilator because I
Mm.
felt like I had that motivation to try because I knew that I had to. I felt like I still was fighting for my life.
Mm. Absolutely. What was the saying coming to me there while you were talking about that is mind over matter. It's
Yes.
amazing how our brain is part of our healing, how it controls and, whether you improve or go or deteriorate. So there is
Yes.
a real connection there, mind over matter. That saying's there for a reason. And again, I do see people with different attitudes and positive attitudes, heal a lot quicker. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
now, oh, sorry.
No, I just I just wanted to say that, and it's not, it's not a miracle story that
Mm.
everything was, roses after that. There were still days that I had, you know, down times, and I eventually got on antidepressant medications because it was just so
Mm.
much. It was so overwhelming. So it's not like just making that decision, I
No.
suddenly, within a week was able to stand and get up, but it really just, I never would have been able to start the
Mm.
process if I
Yeah.
hadn't made that decision. And I still had good days and I still had bad days.
Yeah.
And I still have good days and I still have bad days. But just making that decision is the start of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really that self-talk, starting just to turn off that negativity and try to move to more positivity. Self-talk is just
Mhm.
that one little start you could do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So now you speak a lot about gratitude and kindness. Why do those two things feel so powerful to you after everything you've been through?
Well, most recently, I've been talking about grace, gratitude, and giving. And so all of that kind of rolls together. And so for me, grace really is that kindness, that kindness towards others and towards yourself. It's that forgiveness part. It's that knowing that I received something that I didn't earn, that I didn't deserve, which was my life, my second chance. So I was given grace, and now I feel like that's what part of what I should be doing
Mm.
is also giving grace and talking to people about how to give grace and kindness and forgiveness.
Mm.
It's all the same thing, and how that can not only is it not only just good for the world, but it really is good for you. It's
Mm.
how it is how you can create more meaning in your life, and you create that value, what's valuable to you, what's important. And so that's where grace takes me. And then gratitude is just what I talked about, being grateful for every day. And still every day today is every single day realizing that I could not be here.
Mm.
This is my only life here on earth. And I need to remember that each and every day really is a gift. And there's a chance that it may not last. And I don't know when that's going to be. And I need to remind myself of that every day, because then if I forget, then I can't appreciate life as much. And then the giving is just being able to give to other people that smile,
Mm.
just a little something, to let them know how much you appreciate them, or to try to brighten their day for whatever reason, just something small. It doesn't even have to be something tangible,
Mm.
just something nice that you tell someone, or a smile to, I always say, how do you know that you, for some reason, might be the only person smiling at this individual all day?
Mm.
And you just never know what just that small give that
Mm.
you are willing to give to someone. You just never know what that's going to mean.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely, that resonates with me. I always, talked about small act of kindness, that little smile that you never know how it's going to impact that person and also ripple outward into the world in other ways. Yeah, absolutely. So, your message today focuses on helping people move beyond just surviving in life. What does that really mean to truly thrive?
So to me, I see it as just surviving is when you're drudging through life, when
Mm.
you go to work again, everything is the same old, and you just have no more passion, whether it be for work or for home life or for whatever it is. You just feel like you're just getting by.
Mm.
And it's not about happiness. Happiness comes and goes, and happiness is a feeling. Whereas when you're truly fulfilled is when you have that meaning, when there's something more behind it. And
Mm,
so being fulfilled and thriving means that you have that meaning attached to it. And
mm,
so you don't feel like you're just going, day by day, and you're actually enjoying life and what you're doing, because you have made that mindset to, if you don't enjoy something, to do something different about it, or
mm,
to change something. But until you can make that mindset change, you're really, some people are just going to keep just drudging away
mm,
until they can be completely fulfilled.
mm. Yeah, I often say around that instead of walking through life, experience life.
Yeah,
It's a different mindset. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
But because we can get so robotic and get up and go to work and get into
Hmm.
the routine and not really experience, the little things in life that bring so much joy in, whether it's, going for a walk or meeting with friends or, seeing a bird sing towards you. It's really experience life. And when you really start to take that in, your whole life and everything changes in regards to, yeah, thriving.
And And that's exactly why when I talk about gratitude, grace, and giving, because that is all outward. When
Mm,
you are, like you said, just kind of walking through, you're focused on yourself, and
mm,
what you're doing and what you don't have and what you wish you had.
yeah,
But when you're looking more outward and giving and doing and being grateful, then you see what you just said. You
mm,
see the birds and the blue skies, and
yeah.
you smell the rain and all of that, because now you're not looking just at yourself, you're looking at the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just on the doing, you also talk about doing it scared. Why is courage often found in taking action even when we feel uncertain?
And for my business, that's part of my tagline. My tagline is kindness, courage, and hope.
Yeah.
And courage is important because it's that whole cliche, you don't look back at your life, and mostly when you look back at your life, your biggest regrets are what you didn't do,
Yeah.
what you were too afraid to, what you didn't have enough confidence for. And so it's really having that courage to do something, even though you're scared, even though it makes you nervous. That's really kind of what helps you get over that hump, to be able to move into from that safe zone where
Mm,
you're drudging, where you're just walking through life, whatever you want to call it, you're in your little bubble. And in order to break out of that, you have to have that courage,
mm,
for those things that either are hard or scary or uncomfortable. And you may fail or you may not. They always say too, you're always going to fail if you never do it. You're
mm,
never going to get to where you want to go if you don't do it. But if you try and make an effort, you may or you may not. But having
mm,
that courage, at least you know that you tried, or that maybe you need to do something different, or whatever the case, it's always going to be a lesson learned
mhm,
if you can use that mindset. It's always a lesson learned, as opposed to, oh, I failed.
mm. And my tagline there, Andrea, is growth starts where comfort ends.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andrea, how can people begin to reconnect with purpose and fulfillment in their own lives?
So the number one tip, the first tip, is always that gratitude. I
Mm,
mean, it's hard to not find fulfillment when you're looking at what you're grateful for. So just doing the small thing of gratitude, whether it's just in your mind, whether you're doing a gratitude journal, a gratitude jar, there's so many ways that you can do it, but just starting to look at the things that you're grateful for is one way to really start noticing the things that matter to you in life.
Mm,
so that you can start focusing on what it is that you want to actually start looking towards.
mm. Yeah, love that. So, Andrea, can you share a moment during your recovery that reminded you how precious life is?
Um, Definitely. And another example of gratitude, when I first left the hospital, I went into a rehab hospital, so where I was
Mm,
doing physical rehab. And on my first day there, my rehab was literally standing,
mm,
sitting to stand. And I probably could do no more than 10. And I just completely broke down in tears because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to walk. I'm never going to be able to stand on my own. And it was really difficult. But again, just a few days later in the therapy room, I saw someone who came in who wasn't even able to sit up on
mm,
his own. And they had to put a device on him to help him stand, which they had done for me in the hospital just to get his muscles used to moving again.
mm,
And I thought, here I am again, feeling sorry for myself
mm.
because I couldn't even stand in a wheelchair, yet he can't even sit on his own,
Yeah.
And so that's just an example of how, even though I had, made this progress, and had made a mindset change, it's still not something that you do every day all the time. You're still
Mm,
human. And I still had to remind myself, observe those little things. And again,
mm,
practice that gratitude. Like I
mm.
saw something that reminded me, like, hey, snap out of it. You
Yeah.
need to remember where you've been. People would say, oh, you've made so much progress. And I'd say, I don't care. I still can't walk, you
Mm,
know? And so I did have to just remind myself, and being able to look at other things and have gratitude
mm,
help me back to where I needed to be.
mm. So, just on that gratitude, what's one daily habit that keeps you grounded in gratitude?
Um, wow. Okay. Let me think on this one. um, okay. So probably this is the best one.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned before, I try to every day remind myself that I'm here alive for the one life that I have on earth.
Mm,
And that needs to be the forefront of my mind every day. So every day I have to give myself that reminder
yeah.
because I don't want it to go far from my mind.
Yeah.
I want it to always be something that's active in my mind so that I am constantly um, living that because I don't want to
Mm.
forget it.
Yeah, that really resonated with me then, Andrea. What was coming to me there was a lot of us in life live life that we've got a second chance or a do over. Yeah, and literally, you got that second chance. Yeah, so it's a
Yeah,
real
and that's what I wish for other people is to be able to learn how important it is to appreciate what you have and realize that you don't know when it's
yeah,
going to end without having to go through what I went through.
yeah,
If someone could just take that and learn from it and be able to implement it into their life without having to
mm,
go through something so horrible is what I would wish.
yeah, absolutely. So, what's a message you would give someone who feels stuck in survival mode?
So I would recommend the gratitude, grace, and giving
Mm,
as a start. So just being grateful. So finding the small things that you're grateful for throughout the day, throughout the week.
mm,
Being able to give not just yourself grace and patience and forgiveness and compassion, but towards others as well. And being able to give small things to people, whether it's, you know, something nice that you do for them or just a smile. So being able to do those things will lead someone to be more fulfilled because they're are going to notice the things that are positive in the world, and they're going to start feeling good about themselves when they do something to help someone or do something to make someone smile. And it makes them feel good, and then that just kind of leads them on a roll to want to start doing even more positive things.
Yeah.
So that's where I say is a good start for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my mantra. Acts of kindness. Again, you never know where that ripple effect's going to go in the world. And if you do it to someone, someone will pass that on to someone else. And then we've got the ripple effect happening throughout the world of positive vibes.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So if positive vibes are about choosing hope even during the hardest moments, what does hope mean to you today?
Hope to me means knowing that there's always a chance something will get better.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose, and I see you have butterflies. I chose butterflies for my logo because to me that shows that there's always hope for something to change. And that, I mean, without believing that and without thinking that that's possible, that's when you can fall into a dark hole.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Andrea, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about your work through your life coaching by Andrea?
So lifecoachingbyandrea.com is my website. And then that's also my handle on social media. So they can find me Life Coaching by Andrea on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Wonderful. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people reaching out to you after listening to you speak today. And finally, what encouragement would you give someone who may be going through their own difficult season right now?
So, I mean, besides everything I've already said, I would say really start by just looking at yourself and valuing um, everything about you, because none of us are perfect. But until you can look at yourself and value yourself, so again, that fulfillment is about that value and that meaning. And in order to be able to be more fulfilled, you are really looking at what is meaningful to you in your life. And so you want to start with yourself. You want to make sure that you value yourself. And so you value your time. And once you can see what value you have, then that's how you go out into the world. And that is how people will respond to you. People respond to you by how you respond to them. And so you're going to go out in the world a lot differently when you see what your value is.
I love that advice, Andrea. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Well, Andrea reminds us that sometimes life's most difficult chapters can lead to the most meaningful transformations. When we choose gratitude, kindness, and purpose, even the smallest actions can help us move from simply surviving to truly thriving. This is Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis, sending you all love and positive vibes. And thank you, Andrea, being here today and sharing your most personal story with us today.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.